The Imperial High Council chamber was silent as the holographic message from Grand Marshal Zexkir played for the third time. The message was fragmentary, damaged by interference, but its content was unmistakable. Underestimated them completely. Fighting unlike any species, cannot be defeated by conventional. Recommend immediate strategic withdrawal from all human-controlled space. The final image showed Zexkir's command center being breached by human soldiers before the transmission. Cut out. Emperor Zelthax's compound eyes narrowed. 63 ships lost. 37 retreated in disarray. The Grand Marshal captured or killed. This is unprecedented. Military Counselor Kravzak's mandibles clicked nervously. We have confirmed reports that the humans are advancing beyond their territory. They have already reclaimed the lunar colony we bombarded and established defensive positions in 3 neighboring systems. How quickly can we deploy the 1st and 2nd Imperial fleets? The Emperor demanded. 20 standard days, Your Eminence. But... Kravzak hesitated. Speak freely, Counselor. Our analysis suggests that conventional military response may be ineffective. The humans do not fight according to any established doctrine. They employ asymmetric warfare at a level we have never encountered. Science Counselor Nexria interrupted. I have analyzed their gravitational manipulation technology. It is remarkable not for its advancement, but for its application. They took basic principles and weaponized them in ways our scientists never considered. Are you suggesting, the Emperor's voice was dangerous, that a primitive species has superior technology? Not superior, Your Eminence. Different. They approach problems from perspectives we have not explored. 3 millennia of unchallenged dominance has constrained our thinking. Intelligence Counselor Melzar stepped forward. There is worse news, Your Eminence. Our intelligence networks report that 17 human diplomatic vessels have departed Earth. They are traveling to each of our subject worlds. The Emperor's antennae twitched in alarm. For what purpose? We believe they intend to foment rebellion among our subject species. Already we have reports of unrest on 6 worlds. The council chamber erupted in agitated clicking and hissing. The Emperor raised a limb for silence. How have they achieved so much in so little time? He demanded. Nexria answered slowly. We have intercepted and translated some of their military communications. They speak of something called the art of war. Ancient military philosophy, from their history. One principle they reference repeatedly translates roughly as, supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. They seek to collapse our empire from within, Kravzak realized. Using our own imperial structure against us, Melzar added. The rigid hierarchy, the dependency of subject worlds, all become vulnerabilities when challenged systematically. For the first time in recorded history, the Emperor of the Zarkonian Empire rose from his throne in the middle of a council session, his iridescent exoskeleton catching the light as he paced the chamber. We have ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years, he said quietly. We have subjugated species far older than humanity. How can this be happening? Nexria's scientific mind had been pondering this question since the first defeat. Your Eminence, I believe I understand now. For most species, technological advancement leads to decreased conflict. War becomes less necessary as resources become more abundant. But humans, their advancement occurred in parallel with their conflicts. Melzar. Finish the thought. They developed FTL travel while still fighting among themselves. Their military and scientific development enhanced each other, rather than one replacing the other. And now, Kravzak added grimly, they have united against a common enemy. Us. The Emperor returned to his throne. Options. I require options. Aboard. The Earth Alliance flagship Liberty, Admiral William Hayes met with the newly formed Joint Chiefs of Staff. The massive vessel, constructed in secret over the past decade, dwarfed any previous human warship. Around the conference table sat the military leaders of humanity's combined forces, along with several civilian advisors. The Zarkonian Third Fleet has been neutralized, Hayes reported. New Virginia is secure, and our forces have established control over 3 buffer systems. General Linda Martinez, commanding the Alliance ground forces, nodded in approval. Casualties? Lighter than expected. 8 ships lost, approximately 1,200 personnel. Hayes paused. The Zarkonians lost 63 vessels and an estimated 40,000 troops. And their Grand Marshal? Asked Nathan Cooper, the Secretary of Defense. Captured along with his command staff. They're being transported to Earth for debriefing. Dr. Elizabeth Reed, Chief Scientific Advisor, reviewed the data on her tablet. Project Spartacus exceeded expectations. The gravitational manipulation technology has proven even more effective than our simulations predicted. Hayes nodded. The question now is, what next? We've bloodied their nose, but the Zarkonian Empire still controls thousands of worlds. They can bring resources to bear that outmatch ours by orders of magnitude. If they can coordinate those resources, Martinez pointed out, our intelligence suggests their command structure is rigidly hierarchical. It may take them time to reorganize after such an unprecedented defeat. Time we can use, Cooper agreed. Our diplomatic initiatives? Admiral Hayes pulled up a holographic display showing the movements of Alliance diplomatic vessels throughout Zarkonian space. 17 ships, each heading to a different subject world. Their mission is to offer an alternative to imperial rule. And the subject species are receptive? Martinez asked. Extremely. Many have been under Zarkonian domination for centuries. They've just been waiting for someone to prove the Empire isn't invincible. Dr. Reed cleared her throat. There's another factor we should consider. We've analyzed communications from captured Zarkonian officers. They're genuinely shocked by our military approach. It's not just our tactics they find alien. It's our entire philosophy of warfare. Elaborate, Hayes requested. The Zarkonian Empire expanded through overwhelming force. When they encountered a new species, they deployed massive fleets that made resistance futile. Over time, warfare became ritualized for them, a demonstration of superior force followed by the subject species' surrender. Cooper leaned forward. So they've never faced an adversary that actually fought back effectively. Exactly. 3,000 years of easy victories made them complacent. They have protocols, not strategies. Doctrine, not adaptability. Hayes considered this. And humans? Dr. Reed smiled grimly. We've spent our entire history fighting enemies who adapted, who fought back. Every major human conflict drove innovation, forced adaptation. The Zarkonians evolved to dominate. Humans evolved to survive against all odds. So what do you recommend? Cooper asked. Hayes studied the galactic map thoughtfully. We don't need to defeat their entire empire militarily. We just need to make warfare so costly, so unpredictable, that they're forced to negotiate. Psychological warfare. Martinez nodded approvingly. Combined with targeted strikes and diplomatic initiatives, Hayes confirmed. We turn their subject worlds against them, disrupt their supply lines, and hit their key military installations, with unconventional attacks they can't prepare for. Cooper smiled. We make the mighty Zarkonian Empire afraid. 1 month later, Emperor Zalthax faced a council chamber in disarray. Reports of setbacks flooded in from across the empire. Subject: worlds declaring independence, supply chains disrupted, communication networks compromised. The humans have launched no major offensives since New Virginia, Military Counselor Kravzak reported, his mandibles clicking nervously. Instead, they conduct small precision strikes against key installations before disappearing. Our fleets cannot engage an enemy that refuses conventional battle. And our subject worlds? The Emperor demanded. Intelligence Counselor Melzar's antennae drooped. 12 have formally declared independence. 27 more are in open rebellion. The humans have provided them with technology specifically designed to counter our control systems. How? The Emperor's voice was barely controlled fury. How has this primitive species done this? Science Counselor Nexaria had been unusually quiet. Now she spoke. I have been studying human history extensively. Their conflicts, their literature of warfare. I believe I understand what we're facing. She activated a holographic display showing various human military leaders throughout their history. Humans have a concept they call asymmetric warfare, the strategy of a materially weaker force defeating a stronger one. Throughout their history, they have refined this approach. They avoid direct confrontation with superior forces, instead, targeting vulnerabilities, using psychological warfare, and forcing their enemy to expend resources disproportionately. The display shifted to show human military texts translated into Zarkonian. This human, Sun Tzu wrote, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting." And this one, T.E. Lawrence, "Do not try to do too much with your own hands. Better the Arabs do it tolerably than you do it perfectly." "What does this mean for us?" the Emperor demanded. "It means, Your Eminence, that the humans never intended to defeat our military directly." The huge alien warship appeared suddenly in the darkness of space. It was massive, black, and covered with sharp angles that made it look like a deadly weapon. The ship belonged to the Kralaxians, a species that traveled through space looking for new worlds to rule. Commander Zarak stood on the bridge of his mighty warship, the Dreadnought. He was tall with gray skin that looked almost like metal. 4 yellow eyes blinked in pairs as he watched the small human ship on his screen. His face had no nose, just breathing slits, and when he spoke, his mouth revealed rows of small, sharp teeth. "Captain, the human vessel is within our grasp," reported Officer Krell, who sat at the control panel. "They have not detected us yet." Zrax nodded slowly. "Good. We have studied these humans for many cycles now. Our reports say they are soft creatures who depend too much on their machines. The Dominion Council will be pleased when we add Earth to our territory." The human ship, USS Horizon, floated peacefully against the backdrop of stars. It was small, compared to the Kralaxian vessel, sleek, white, with blue lights glowing along its hull. The crew inside had no idea they were being watched. Lieutenant Commander Amy Bennett yawned as she poured herself a cup of coffee in her small room aboard the Horizon. She had been in space for 6 months, and though she loved her job, she sometimes missed Earth. Amy had short brown hair, kind eyes, and a quick smile. Unlike many of her crewmates, she wasn't alone in her quarters. "Morning, Max," she said to the small German Shepherd puppy curled up in a bed in the corner. The puppy lifted his head, his ears perking up at the sound of his name. He was only 3 months old, with soft brown and black fur and big paws he hadn't grown into yet. Captain Frank Wright had allowed Amy to bring Max on board after the ship's counselor suggested having a pet might help the crew during their long mission. The puppy had quickly become everyone's favorite crew member. Amy checked her watch. "Just enough time to finish this coffee before my shift starts," she told Max. She sat down and opened her tablet to review the day's schedule. Suddenly, a loud, urgent alarm blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in her room. Max jumped up, barking at the noise. "Attention, all crew," came Captain Wright's voice over the speaker system. "This is not a drill. Unknown spacecraft detected approaching at high speed. All hands to battle stations. Repeat, all hands to battle stations." Amy's heart raced. First contact? Pirates? She had no time to think about it. She grabbed her uniform, jacket, and quickly put it on, buttoning it as she headed for the door. Max was still barking, looking confused and scared. "Sorry, buddy, no time to find someone to watch you," she said, scooping the puppy into her arms. "You'll have to come with me." The corridors of the ship were filled with crew members rushing to their posts. Amy ran toward the bridge, holding Max close to her chest. The puppy whimpered, sensing the tension in the air. When Amy arrived at the bridge, she found it buzzing with activity. Crew members moved quickly between stations, checking readings and preparing the ship's systems. Captain Wright stood in the center, his tall frame tense as he watched the main screen. "Bennett, what is that doing here?" Captain Wright asked, pointing at Max. He was a fair but strict captain in his 50s, with graying hair and a voice that commanded respect. "Sorry, sir," Amy said, trying to keep Max still in her arms. "There was no time to drop him off. He'll be quiet." The captain frowned but had bigger concerns. "Get to your station. We have a situation." Amy hurried to the weapons console, setting Max down beside her chair. The puppy sat obediently, though his ears remained alert. "Report, Lieutenant Kelly." Captain Wright ordered. Lieutenant Joe Kelly, the ship's sensor officer, studied his screens. Captain, it's huge. At least 3 times our size. Design doesn't match anything in our database. Weapons? The captain asked. Too many to count, sir, Kelly replied. And their shields are unlike anything we've seen before. The huge alien ship now filled their view screen. It was so close they could see details of its hull, strange markings, weapon ports, and what looked like battle scars. Any response to our hails? Captain Wright asked Communications Officer Lisa Chen. She shook her head. Nothing yet, sir. I've tried all frequencies and protocols. Keep trying, the captain ordered. Let's not... Sir, Chen called out suddenly. Incoming transmission. On screen, Wright said, straightening his uniform. The view screen changed, showing the bridge of the alien vessel. In the center stood Commander Zrax, his 4 yellow eyes staring coldly at the humans. Earth vessel, the alien spoke in surprisingly clear English. I am Commander Zrax of the Kralaxian Dominion. Your ship is now in our control. Your planet has been chosen for Dominion expansion. Surrender now. Captain Wright stepped forward, keeping his voice steady. This is Captain Frank Wright of the Earth Alliance vessel USS Horizon. We are on a peaceful exploration mission and represent no threat to you or your people. Zrax made a sound that might have been a laugh. Peace? Your species knows nothing of true power, Captain. Our studies show you humans are weak. You rely on your machines while your bodies remain soft and fragile. Without your technology, you are nothing but prey for stronger species. The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. Amy felt Max press against her leg as if sensing danger. Commander Zrax, Wright said diplomatically, perhaps there's been a misunderstanding. We would welcome the opportunity to learn about your people and establish friendly. Friendship is not the Dominion way, Zrax interrupted. Prepare to be boarded. Your crew will not be harmed if they cooperate. Resistance is pointless. As Zrax spoke, Max grew restless beside Amy. The puppy stood up and let out a sharp bark that echoed through the quiet bridge. Every head turned toward the sound. On the screen, Commander Zrax's 4 eyes widened. What was that noise? The alien demanded, his voice suddenly alert. Amy tried to quiet Max, but the puppy barked again, wagging his tail now that he had everyone's attention. That? Captain Wright said casually, glancing at Max. Just one of our beasts. Zrax leaned closer to his screen. You bring predator creatures into space with you? Amy saw an opportunity and decided to take it. She picked up Max and stepped forward where the alien could see them both. This is just a puppy, Commander. A baby beast. We have several aboard. The alien's eyes narrowed as he studied the small dog. Your reports suggest these creatures possess remarkable hunting abilities, enhanced senses, loyalty to death. Captain Wright nodded slowly, beginning to understand where this might lead. Indeed, Commander. This is just one type of Earth creature that humans have partnered with. Partnered? Zrax's voice held a note of surprise. These beasts serve you willingly? For thousands of years, Amy added, scratching behind Max's ears. The puppy licked her hand happily. Commander Zrax turned away from the screen, speaking rapidly in a clicking language to someone off-screen. When he turned back, his posture had changed slightly. Captain Wright, the alien said, his tone different now. Perhaps I have been hasty. Before we proceed with our plans, I would like to observe these Earth beasts, to verify our intelligence. Wright nodded solemnly, hiding his relief. Of course, Commander, we would be happy to demonstrate. Would you care to come aboard? Zrax considered this for a moment. Very well. I will bring a small security team. Prepare to receive us in 1 Earth hour. When the transmission ended, the bridge erupted in nervous chatter. Sir, Amy said, stepping toward the captain, did you just invite an alien invasion force onto our ship because they're curious about my puppy? Captain Wright rubbed his forehead. It seems I did, Lieutenant. And right now, that puppy might be our best chance to avoid becoming the newest addition to the Kralaxian Dominion. Max wagged his tail happily, completely unaware that the fate of human-alien relations might now rest on his small, furry shoulders. The crew of the USS Horizon had exactly 1 hour to prepare for their alien visitors. The ship buzzed with activity as everyone rushed to get ready. "I want security teams at all key points," Captain Wright ordered as he walked quickly down the corridor with Amy and Chief Security Officer Bill Porter. "But keep weapons holstered. We don't want to appear hostile." Chief Porter nodded. "Yes, sir, I've selected our best people. They'll be ready." Amy followed them, still holding Max. The puppy seemed to enjoy all the excitement, his tail wagging, as he watched the busy humans hurry past. "Lieutenant Bennett," Captain Wright said, turning to Amy, "since your puppy is the reason they're coming aboard, you'll be our animal ambassador." Amy blinked in surprise. "Sir, I'm a weapons officer, not a diplomat." "Today you're both," the captain replied. "Chief Porter will brief the security team. You and I will meet our guests in the main cargo bay." He looked at Max. "And make sure he's on his best behavior." Amy nodded, suddenly feeling the weight of responsibility. "Yes, sir." The cargo bay was the largest open space on the horizon. Crew members worked quickly to make it presentable, moving cargo containers to the sides and setting up a small area with chairs in the center. "Do aliens even sit in chairs?" someone whispered. Nobody knew the answer. At exactly 1 hour after the transmission, the ship's computer announced, "Alert. Energy signature detected in cargo bay. Possible teleportation in progress." Captain Wright, Amy, and 6 security officers stood at attention as shimmering columns of light appeared in the center of the cargo bay. The light twisted and turned, growing brighter until it was almost blinding. Then, with a sound like thunder, 7 figures materialized. Commander Zrak stood in front with 6 Kralaxian soldiers behind him. They were all tall with gray skin and 4 eyes, but the soldiers wore black armor that covered most of their bodies. Each soldier carried a weapon that looked like a cross between a gun and a spear, glowing with blue energy. "Welcome aboard the USS Horizon," Captain Wright said calmly, stepping forward with his hands open to show he was unarmed. Commander Zrax did not respond to the greeting. Instead, he lifted a small device and pointed it at the humans. The device made soft, beeping sounds. "Your vessel's life support systems are primitive but sufficient," Zrak said finally. "Our scans detect multiple life forms, humans and—" He looked at the device again. "Something else." Amy stepped forward, still holding Max. The puppy had gone quiet, watching the aliens with curious eyes. "This is what you heard earlier, Commander," she said. "This is Max." The Kralaxian soldiers immediately moved into defensive positions, raising their weapons. Commander Zrak stepped back, all 4 of his eyes widening. "That is one of your war beasts?" he asked, sounding surprised. "It is much smaller than our intelligence indicated." "He's just a puppy," Amy explained, trying to keep her voice steady despite the weapons pointed in her direction. "A young one. They grow bigger." Max wagged his tail and made a small happy sound, clearly not understanding the tension in the room. Zrak studied the puppy with great interest. "Our reports indicate these creatures can track targets over great distances, detect sounds humans cannot hear, and smell things that are miles away." "Is this correct?" Chief Porter, who had stepped up beside Amy, nodded seriously. "Yes, that's all true." "And they serve you willingly?" Zrax asked, sounding confused. "They're our friends," Amy replied, scratching behind Max's ears. The puppy leaned into her hand happily. "Dogs have lived with humans for thousands of years. We help each other." Commander Zrax turned to his soldiers and spoke in their own language, which sounded like clicks and whistles to human ears. The soldiers lowered their weapons slightly, but still watched the puppy with caution. Zrax turned back to the humans. "This arrangement is unusual to us. In our experience, predator species do not willingly serve others unless forced." Captain Wright smiled politely. "Perhaps this is a good opportunity for both our species to learn from each other." Zrax nodded. Slowly. "Perhaps. We wish to observe this creature's abilities. Our intelligence reports must be verified." "Of course," Captain Wright agreed. "Lieutenant Bennett would be happy to demonstrate some of Max's skills." He paused and added casually, Though I should mention, Commander, dogs are just one type of animal that humans have partnered with over our history. Zrax's posture stiffened noticeably. There are others? Oh yes, Amy said, picking up on the captain's strategy. Many others, each with their own special abilities. The Kralaxian commander seemed to process this information carefully. He spoke, again to his soldiers who now looked more alert than before. Show us, Zrax demanded. Captain Wright gestured toward the door. We've prepared a demonstration area in our recreation deck. It's more suitable for showing Max's abilities. Would you follow us? As they walked through the corridors of the horizon, the human crew members they passed stopped and stared at the aliens. Most had never seen a non-human intelligent species before. The Kralaxians, for their part, seemed equally interested in the humans, their four eyes taking in everything. Your ship is small, Commander Zrax commented as they walked. It's one of our exploration vessels, Captain Wright explained. Not our largest by any means. And you bring these dogs on all your ships? Amy nodded. Many ships have them. They're good for crew morale during long missions, and they have practical uses too. One of the Kralaxian soldiers spoke to Zrax in their language. The commander replied sharply, seeming to disagree with whatever was said. They reached the recreation deck, which had been quickly rearranged for the demonstration. The large open space normally used for exercise and games now had various objects set up around the room. Small tunnels, platforms, and hidden compartments. Amy set Max down on the floor. The puppy immediately began exploring his new surroundings, sniffing at everything with interest. Before we begin, Commander Zrax said, I must understand something. Our studies of Earth transmissions suggested these creatures are dangerous. They have sharp teeth and can attack on command. Yet this one seems harmless. Captain Wright nodded thoughtfully. Dogs come in many forms, Commander. Some are trained for protection and security, others for finding things or helping people with special needs, and many, like Max here, are primarily companions. Companions, Zrax repeated the word as if it were new to him. Your species forms emotional bonds with non-sentient creatures? We do, Amy confirmed. Humans have lived alongside animals for our entire history. We find comfort in their presence. Commander Zrax turned to his soldiers and spoke at length, in their language. The conversation seemed intense, with several soldiers talking at once. Finally, Zrax raised a hand, silencing them. This concept is strange to us, he admitted. The Kralaxian Dominion believes in strength and control. We do not share our ships with lesser creatures. Amy knelt down and called Max to her. The puppy ran over happily, jumping into her lap. Maybe that's something we could teach each other about, she suggested. Different kinds of strength. Zrax watched the interaction with all four eyes. Perhaps. But first, we would see what these creatures can do. Show us their power. Amy stood up with Max in her arms. I'd be happy to, but I should warn you, Commander. Max is still very young, he's just learning. Adult dogs are much more skilled. One of the Kralaxian soldiers whispered something to Zrax, who nodded. We understand, the commander said. Show us what he can do now at this age. Then we will better understand the full potential of your Earth beasts. Amy looked at Captain Wright, who gave her an encouraging nod. She took a deep breath and sat Max down on the floor. Let's start with something simple, she said, reaching into her pocket for a treat. Max, sit. Max, sit, Amy said clearly, holding a small treat in her hand. The German Shepherd puppy looked up at her, his tail wagging. Then, after just a moment's hesitation, he sat down on the floor. His brown eyes stayed fixed on the treat in Amy's hand. Good boy, Amy said happily, giving him the treat. Max ate it quickly, his tail still wagging. The Kralaxians watched in silence. Their four eyes blinked in different patterns as they observed. Now stay, Amy commanded, holding her hand, up flat toward Max. The puppy sat still, though his tail continued to move slightly. Amy backed away slowly, about 10 steps across the recreation room floor. Come, she called, kneeling down with her arms open. Max immediately bounded toward her, running as fast as his little legs could carry him. When he reached Amy, he jumped, up against her knees, and she picked him up, giving him another treat. These are very basic commands, Amy explained to the aliens. Dogs learn to follow more complex instructions as they grow up. Commander Zrax made a low clicking sound that might have been disappointment. This is a simple behavior pattern, nothing special. Many creatures can be trained to respond to food rewards. Captain Wright smiled politely. That's just the beginning. Commander, Lieutenant Bennett, perhaps you could show them something more impressive? Amy nodded. Of course. She thought for a moment, then had an idea. Commander Zrax, would you mind helping me with a demonstration? The alien commander seemed surprised by the request. What would you have me do? Could you hold this for a moment? Amy asked, offering a small rubber ball. It was one of Max's favorite toys. Zrax took the ball reluctantly, holding it between two long fingers. The ball looked tiny in his large hand. Now, Amy continued, please give the ball to one of your soldiers and have them hide it somewhere in this room while we turn around. Zrax hesitated, then spoke to his soldiers in their clicking language. One of them stepped forward and took the ball. Amy turned around and picked up Max, making sure the puppy couldn't see where the soldier was going. Let us know when you're ready, she called over her shoulder. There was movement behind them, the sound of footsteps, then silence. It is done, Zrax announced. Amy turned back around with Max in her arms. The Kralaxian soldier who had taken the ball now stood with the others, his forearms empty. The ball was nowhere to be seen. Now watch, Amy said, setting Max down on the floor. She knelt beside him and whispered, Max, find your ball. Find it. The puppy's ears perked up at the word ball. He began sniffing the floor, moving in small circles at first. Then his nose led him across the room, past several Kralaxian soldiers who watched him carefully. Max stopped near a storage container, sniffed around its edges, then scratched at its side with his paw. He's found it, Amy announced. She walked over and opened the container. Inside, hidden under a folded blanket, was the ball. Max immediately jumped up, trying to reach it. Amy retrieved the ball and gave it to Max, who proudly carried it back toward the center of the room. Remarkable, Commander Zrax said quietly. The creature found the object using only its sense of smell? That's right, Captain Wright confirmed. Dogs have an extremely sensitive sense of smell. They can detect scents that humans can't even imagine. One of the Kralaxian soldiers spoke up, his voice rougher than Zrax's. This skill would be useful in tracking enemies. Dogs have been used for tracking throughout human history, Chief Porter added. They can follow a person's trail even days after they've passed through an area. Commander Zrax walked slowly around Max, who was now chewing happily on his ball. And this is merely a juvenile? An untrained one? That's right, Amy said. Max is just a puppy, he's still learning. Another demonstration was quickly arranged. This time, Amy had Captain Wright hide in another part of the recreation room behind a partition. She then encouraged Max to find the captain. The puppy seemed confused at first, looking around uncertainly. But after Amy repeated the command and gave him the captain's scent from a glove Wright had worn, Max began his search. In less than a minute, he had led them straight to the captain's hiding place, barking excitedly when he found him. Good boy, Max, Captain Wright said, emerging from his hiding spot. He gave the puppy a treat, which Max eagerly accepted. The Kralaxian soldiers were now speaking rapidly among themselves. Commander Zrax listened to them, occasionally nodding. When they finished, he turned back to the humans. Your beast shows promise, he admitted. But these are simple tasks. Our reports indicated these creatures could detect diseases, find explosives, and even predict danger before it happens. Is this true? Amy and Captain Wright exchanged glances. Some specially trained dogs can detect certain illnesses, Amy explained. Others are trained to find dangerous materials like explosives. As for predicting danger, she shrugged. They have instincts we don't fully understand. Commander Zrax seemed to consider this information carefully. We would see more, he declared. For the next half hour, Amy put Max through every trick she had taught him. The puppy sat, stayed, rolled over, gave his paw, and played dead on command. He fetched different objects when Amy named them, showing he understood several words. When she pretended to cry, Max immediately went to her, trying to comfort her by nuzzling her hand and whimpering softly. Throughout it all, the Kralaxians watched with growing interest. Even the soldiers had lowered their weapons completely now, focusing entirely on the demonstrations. "There is something our reports did not mention," Commander Zrax said finally. "This creature seems to, care about your feelings." Amy smiled, petting Max as he lay tired at her feet. "That's one of the most important things about dogs. They form emotional bonds with humans. They can sense when we're sad or happy or scared, and they respond to those emotions." "Emotional bonds," Zrax repeated as if testing the words. "This is not a concept the Dominion values. Maybe that's something we could learn from each other," Captain Wright suggested carefully. "Different species have different strengths." Commander Zrax was silent for a moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, he slowly lowered himself to one knee, bringing his face closer to Max's level. The puppy looked up curiously, tilting his head. "May I?" Zrax began, then paused, seeming unsure. "Is it permitted to touch the creature?" Amy nodded. "Of course. Hold your hand out first, palm down so he can smell you." Zrax extended one gray hand toward Max. The puppy sniffed it cautiously, then gave the alien's fingers a small lick. Zrax pulled back quickly in surprise. "It attacked with a wet secretion," he exclaimed, examining his hand. Amy laughed, unable to help herself. No, that's how dogs show they like someone. It's called licking. It's a friendly gesture." Zrax looked doubtful but extended his hand again. This time when Max licked it, the alien commander didn't pull away. After a moment, he carefully placed his hand on Max's head, mimicking the petting motion he had seen Amy do. Max's tail wagged happily at the attention. "Its fur is softer than I expected," Zrax commented quietly. The other Kralaxians watched, their commander with what appeared to be shock. None of them spoke or moved. "Commander," one of the soldiers finally said in their language, "the High Commander will be expecting our report soon." Zrax stood quickly, seeming almost embarrassed. "Yes." He turned to Captain Wright. "Your demonstration has been educational. I must confer with my soldiers now." Captain Wright nodded. "Of course, Commander. Would you like to return to your ship, or would you prefer to use a private room here?" "We will return to our vessel," Zrax decided, "but we may have more questions later." "We're happy to answer any questions you have," the captain assured him. "This is what exploration is all about, learning from each other." As the Kralaxians prepared to depart, Commander Zrax looked down at Max one more time. The puppy stared back, tail still wagging gently. "Your beast is not what we expected," Zrax said to Amy. "It is both more and less than our reports suggested." Amy smiled. "That's often true of things we don't understand yet, isn't it?" For a brief moment, something like a smile flickered across Zrax's alien face. Then it was gone, replaced by his usual stern expression. "We will speak again soon, humans," he said formally. Then he and his soldiers disappeared in the same shimmering light that had brought them.